dive in and out of the earth as though it were water. You walk on water without sinking, as though it were earth. Seated cross-legged, you travel in space like a bird. With your hand you touch and stroke the moon and sun, so powerful and mighty. You exercise mastery with the body as far as the Brahma world. I'll stop here for a moment. This exercise mastery with the body as far as the Brahma world means with the flesh body, they can fly as far as the Brahma world, the first jhana, heavens, but not further. And then they replied, no friend. In other words, they don't have all this psychic power. Then he said, then knowing and seeing thus, do you, venerable ones, with the divine ear element, which is purified and surpasses the human, hear both kinds of sounds, the divine and human, those that are far as well as near? And they said, no friend. Then knowing and seeing thus, do you, venerable ones, understand the minds of other beings and persons, having encompassed them with your own minds? Do you understand a mind with lust as a mind with lust, a mind without lust as a mind without lust, a mind with hatred as a mind with hatred, a mind without hatred as a mind without hatred, a mind with delusion as a mind with delusion, a mind without delusion as a mind without delusion, a contracted mind as contracted, and a distracted mind as distracted, an exalted mind as exalted, and an unexalted mind as unexalted, a surpassable mind as surpassable, and an unsurpassable mind as unsurpassable, a concentrated mind as concentrated, and an unconcentrated mind as unconcentrated, a liberated mind as liberated, and an unliberated mind as unliberated. And they said, no friend. So here he is asking them, if you don't have all the various types of psychic powers, you have the divine ear, the heavenly ear, surely. And they said, no. Then he said, if you don't have, then maybe you have the ability to read other people's minds. And they also said, no. Then knowing and seeing thus, do you, venerable ones, recollect your manifold past abodes, that is, 1 birth, 2 births, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 births, 1,000, 100,000 births, many aeons of world contraction, many aeons of world expansion, many aeons of world contraction and expansion. Thus, there I was so named, of such a clan, with such an appearance, such was my food, such was my experience of pleasure and pain, such my lifespan. Passing away from there, I was reborn elsewhere, and there too I was so named, of such a clan, with such an appearance, such was my food, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such my lifespan. Passing away from there, I was reborn here. Do you thus recollect your manifold past abodes with their modes and details? No friend, they replied. So he's asking them whether they can see their past lives, and still they say no. Then knowing and seeing thus, do you, venerable ones, with the divine eye which is purified and surpasses the human, see beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, and understand how beings fare on in accordance with their karma? Thus, these beings who engaged in misconduct of body, speech and mind, who reviled the noble ones, the Aryans, held wrong view, and undertook actions based on wrong view, with the breakup of the body after death, have been reborn in a state of misery, in a bad destination, in the nether world, in hell. But those beings who engaged in good conduct of body, speech or mind, who did not revile the noble ones, who held right view, and undertook action based on right view, with the breakup of the body after death, have been reborn in a good destination, in a heavenly world. Thus, with the divine eye which is purified and surpasses the human, do you see beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, and understand how beings fare on in accordance with their karma? No friend. So here he's asking them whether they have the divine eye, heavenly eye, and they said no. How come he's asking all these questions? Probably because one of the reasons the Buddha and the disciples have become so famous and receive so much support is because people know they have all these psychic powers. And then he said, then knowing and seeing thus, do you, Venerable Ones, dwell in those peaceful deliverances that transcend forms, the formless attainments, having touched them with the body? And they said, no, friend. Let's stop here for a moment. So here the last part is asking whether they have attained the states of meditation where the formless attainments, that means they have passed beyond form, the arupa jhana, they have attained the arupa jhanas, meaning the base of boundless space, the base of boundless consciousness, the base of nothingness, the base of neither perception nor non-perception. These are the 4 arupa jhanas, which are the very high states of meditation. And they also said no. And then he said, here now, Venerable Ones, this answer and the non-attainment of those states, how could this be, friends? And they said, we are liberated by wisdom, friend Susima. And he said, I do not understand in detail, friends, the meaning of what has been stated in brief by the Venerable Ones. It would be good if the Venerable Ones would explain to me in such a way that I could understand in detail what has been stated in brief. And they said, whether or not you understand, friend Susima, we are liberated by wisdom. Stop here for a moment. So here he's asking them, you all claim that you have attained the goal of the holy life. You have become liberated from the round of rebirths and all that. But how is it when I ask you all these states, psychic powers and all that, you say you don't have all these? Then they said, that's because we are liberated by wisdom. And he asked them to explain, and they refused to explain. Earlier we read some sutta where it was mentioned there were a group of arahants, and the Buddha said, I think the group was 500 arahants, and the Buddha said 60 of them have the threefold knowledge, 60 of them have the sixfold knowledge, 60 of them are liberated by mind, or 2 ways liberated, and the rest are all liberated by wisdom. So out of these 500, you see 120 have the threefold knowledge and the sixfold knowledge, which means psychic power. So 120 out of 500 is about 1/4. So about 1/4 of arahants, after they become liberated, only 1/4 have psychic power. 3/4 generally don't have psychic power. So here they say they don't have psychic power and they are liberated by wisdom. It is suttas like this that the commentary makes a mistake. The commentary says that this refers to, this means that the arahants who are liberated by wisdom, who don't have psychic power, means that they don't have any jhana. They equate jhana with psychic power. They think once a person attains jhana, he must have psychic power. So these arahants don't have psychic power, therefore they don't have jhana. But here, the last part that he asked, they have not attained the formless jhanas, arupa jhanas. But in other suttas, the Buddha says, to attain arahanthood, you must have at least the 4 jhanas. The 4 jhanas are enough to make a person an arahant, if he studies the Dhamma also, in addition to the 4 jhanas. And if he attains the arupa jhanas, it's a bonus, but it's not a necessary condition. So that's the mistake the commentaries make. From here they talk about the pure vipassana arahant, which does not need any jhana. This totally contradicts the suttas. Buddha said in the Majjhima Nikaya that it's impossible to destroy the 5 lower factors without the 4 jhanas. Person who destroys the 5 lower factors is the anagamin and the arahant. Then the Venerable Susima rose from his seat and approached the Blessed One. Having approached, he paid homage to the Blessed One, sat down to one side, and reported to the Blessed One the entire conversation he had had with those monks. The Blessed One said, first, Susima, comes knowledge of the stability of the Dhamma. Afterwards, knowledge of Nibbana. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying, first a person has knowledge of the stability of the Dhamma, basically means a person has knowledge of the Dhamma. Then because of knowledge of the Dhamma, he has knowledge of Nibbana, that means he attains liberation. And Susima said, I do not understand in detail, Venerable Sir, the meaning of what was stated in brief by the Blessed One. It would be good if the Blessed One would explain to me in such a way that I could understand in detail what has been stated in brief. And the Buddha said, whether or not you understand Susima, first comes knowledge of the stability of the Dhamma, afterwards knowledge of Nibbana. And the Buddha continued, what do you think, Susima? Is form or body permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, this I am, this is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Similarly, is feeling permanent or impermanent? And he answered as before. Is perception permanent or impermanent? Is volition permanent or impermanent? Is consciousness permanent or impermanent? He answered all in the same way. Impermanent, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, this I am, this is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is teaching him some Dhamma. The Buddha is asking him about the 5 aggregates, body, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness. Which these 5 things are basically body and mind, which we take to be the self, or as belonging to the self, or the self is in these 5 aggregates, or the 5 aggregates are in the self. So the Buddha is trying to make him see that these 5 aggregates which we take to be the self is impermanent, so it is suffering and it's not fit to be regarded as I or mine. Then the Buddha continued, therefore Susima, any kind of form whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all form or bodies should be seen as it really is with correct wisdom thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. So here when we talk about all forms, means our body, whether our body now or body in the past or our bodies in the future, or the bodies that we take to be mine, like my husband, my wife, my children, my parents and all that. The Buddha said, all this you should see with wisdom. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Similarly, any kind of feeling whatsoever, any kind of perception, any kind of volition, any kind of consciousness whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all of these aggregates should be seen as it really is with correct wisdom thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Seeing thus Susima, the instructed noble disciple experiences revulsion towards form, revulsion towards feeling, revulsion towards perception, revulsion towards volition, revulsion towards consciousness. Experiencing revulsion, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge. It is liberated. He understands, destroyed is birth, the holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more for this state of being. So here the Buddha makes him understand this Dhamma. And then the Buddha continued, do you see Susima, with birth as condition, aging and death comes to be? Yes, Venerable Sir. Do you see Susima, with being as condition, birth? And he says yes. Do you see with clinging as condition, existence, etc., with contact, with 6 sense bases, etc., with ignorance as condition, volition comes to be? And he says yes, Venerable Sir, to all of this. Do you see Susima, with the cessation of birth comes cessation of aging and death? Yes, Venerable